So on the day I'm posting this video, August 21st, House of the Dragon turns a year old. Time just be ticking a lot faster lately. I enjoyed this series at the time, but I never got around to making a video about it. But as it turns a year old, I think it's a perfect time to make a video about it after the hype and to see, does it really still hold up? But let's just do a little recap of what's happened in this year. HBO Max has turned to Max. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. And the writers and actors have been on strike, causing delays for many shows and most likely House of the Dragon Season 2. And lastly, House of the Dragon has gotten 8 Emmy nominations and several from Golden Globes, People's Choice Awards, and many other award shows. A year separated from then, it's safe to say that the show was a success numbers-wise, pulling in an average of 29 million viewers and getting the nod for Season 2. Now let's go back in time to last year before Episode 1 was released. It undoubtedly was gaining hype, but that was paired with many people being anxious and stubborn to jump back in Westeros after the last appearance. The weight of the franchise was on the shoulders of this show, especially after George and HBO came out saying that they want to make a universe like Marvel and Star Wars out of this franchise. But for that to be even possible, this show had to hit. Which is why, looking back on it now, Episode 1 was such a clutch hit, and it still holds up today. What a way to reintroduce Westeros at an earlier time period with many familiar things, but also a spice of freshness and new to it. Some examples of this is King's Landing, the Iron Throne, all the way to the music. They did a great job at acknowledging what went well in the last series and built off of those strong pillars. One of those strong pillars from Game of Thrones was the wardrobe and prop design, and they leaned into it in the whole season, but especially in Episode 1, with Daemon's armor in the tournament was so good. But most importantly, it did a great job at introducing many new characters in the show while keeping it fast-paced and entertaining. The highlight moment of this episode has to be Daemon's 50-50 grind in the tournament. Such a badass shot. And then the editing pairing Emma's labor screams with Daemon's yell was so good. I can't stress enough how important Episode 1 was for this show and the franchise. But enough of the first episode. The rest of the series carried with the same themes of Episode 1. It had many highlights, great episode, bold decisions, and just like every other show, wasn't perfect. But firstly, there were so many good things on the rewatch. First thing, the story. It was aggressive, taking some bold moves with the time jumps and the actor changes. How they ended up going about it works, but it did get a little bit confusing and a little bit jarring, but it works. My biggest complaint though would be that they changed some actors while leaving others and aging them up. I thought that was just a little weird. Why not just keep all of the actors and age them up with makeup? Especially since the ones that they replaced were doing so well. But then again, they did do a great job of picking other actors that looked similar to them and also did a great job. Now, the story alone was great. It basically revolves around the same thing as the last show, the Iron Throne, but in a new, fresh, twisted way with a sprinkle of Game of Thrones. To be honest, it was kind of a sad story revolving around a king who loses his wife due to his over pursuit in a new heir, who then goes on to make plenty of mistakes while dwindling, opening the door for rats and ravens to take advantage of him and tear down the family he has built and the ancestry that he was given. Now in the rewatch, the only thing that bothered me in the story were just some of the decision makings from the characters. I had so many moments where I'm just like, talk to each other. Or Viserys, don't marry her, or don't make that decision. But at the end of the day, those decisions are believable from those characters. It's not like these characters are just doing some wild choices to push the story along. And along it went, never scaling down. The size of the cast really jumped out to me on the rewatch. IMDb listed over 130 actors, while Game of Thrones Season 1 only had 100. But those 130 plus actors acted their asses off, which is credit to the acting, the directing, and the casting. Now you're probably thinking, always going to talk about Millie Alcock, Emmy Darcy as Rhaenyra, Emily Carey, Olivia Cooke as Alicent Hightower, Steve Toussaint and Eve, Matt Smith as Daemon, and Paddy Considine. All of those actors were amazing, and Paddy really stands out, but everyone has been saying that, and rightfully so. All you have to do is look at Episode 8, and wow. But my favorite part was the accents and the registers that the actors found. The two that stand out is Rhys Ifans as Otto Hightower and Gavin Spokes, who played Lionel Strong. The register they both found, damn. There were so many scenes from the both of them where their voice, just their voice, added so much tension and weight to the scenes. Whether it's Otto on the bridge in episode 2 or Lionel on the small table. I just heard their voices and it's damn, that fits perfectly for the setting. No doubt in my mind though, all of these actors sold these characters. Characters that were written very well. George always talks about how he likes to write great characters. Not too bad, not too good, but always in the middle. That was showcased in this show, making it more believable and unpredictable. As a show that didn't have much action, it leaned heavily on the dialogue and character interactions, and I found it very entertaining, which is credit to the writers, who made them appealing and put them in situations that were appealing. I did not have a problem with more dialogue than action. Honestly, some of my favorite scenes were just character dialogue. Speaking of the best or top moments, I got 3 that really stand out to me. In no specific order, the one that jumps out to me first is the throne sequence in episode 8. That whole scene was done so well, and I'll just say it, that register that the actor found when calling in Viserys, damn. But what stole that scene was Daemon picking up the crown and putting it back on Viserys' head. Such a good scene. My next one's got to be the aftermath of Aemon losing his eye in episode 7. Such a great scene with so much going on, so chaotic. You had Viserys trying to get answers, Sir Criston Cole getting held back, and then Alicent stabbing Rhaenyra, setting off the war to come and dividing the two families. This was just a showcase of the issues that the parents had pouring into the kids and now causing a problem. The last one is kind of a tiny scene in the whole show, but this one really stood out to me because the character grew on me and he stood his ground, which was such a good moment. It being in episode 9 when Sir Harold Westerling tore off his cloak and said, "I'm out of here." Such a great scene and a brilliant performance by Graham McTavish. You could just see the turmoil that was in him when they were talking about the throne and assassinating Rhaenyra. So there you go. Those are my top moments this season. For my top episodes, I would have to go in no specific order, 1, 8, and 10. I touched on one earlier, so I won't go back into it, but really, I can't stress enough how good that episode was and how important it was. I got episode 8 up there because it was such a good send-off for Viserys and had so many great scenes like the one I touched on earlier. Then I have episode 10 in my top 3 just because of the tension that was in the episode, but also the great scenes. Great scenes like the crowning of Rhaenyra, the family riding out, and then the send-off it gave for season 2. And there they are. 1, 8, and 10 have to be my top ones. And the one thing that they all have in common, and the whole series has in common, is the music. The score of this season was so good. I love how Ramin Djawadi, probably butchered that, but I loved how he used many of his older songs and adapted them, which I felt was perfect for the show because it's pretty much what this show did for Game of Thrones, and where you're returning to something you enjoyed, but getting something new and a new sparkle in it that adds a freshness. At the end of the day, House of the Dragon still stands strong a year later due to great acting, writing, music, and so on. Definitely looking forward to season 2 whenever that will be. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I feel like it's going to be dialed up to an 11. I haven't read Fire and Blood, so I'm just guessing. I mean, just look how it ended. Crazy. My only wish is I hope the CGI is a little better. It wasn't bad in this season, but there was just some moments where you're like, but it's really not that big of a deal. Hopefully, they just give them enough time. Anyways, that is for me. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about it, and what you think about it after a year later, and did your opinion change? Peace.